Well, we welcome you in to a week 3 edition of the 4th and 1 podcast, and I am your riding solo, Jason Derillo over there, co-host. I guess I'm not a co-host tonight since old boy is our boy Russo is trying his best to not let Francine put him completely out. He does not live that far from me, and so as it would seem, one of us has power and one of us does not. And so with tradition, we are going live. Rain, sleet, snow, shiner in Russo's case, candlelight, and Connect Four darkness. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get right on into it. So what did we learn in week 2? Do we want to admit that maybe we were wrong in a few areas? Do we want to admit that maybe we were right in a few areas? I'm not really sure. I'm going to be straight with you. I'm not really sure. And primarily the reason why I'm not really sure is because I think that there is an underlying theme to college football, and it's we can lose as long as we make 12. And man, I'm just not down. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just not down with that. I think there has to be more. I think there has to be better. But I think that there's like this feeling that you've still got a chance. That's great. But what I don't love is that we still have this this mentality that like it's okay to lose. No, it's not. It's actually not okay to lose. And it's not okay to lose twice either, because you don't know what the teams are going to look like when it comes to be, December, and you're hoping to be one of the last 12 up there. And I think the mentality that I'm talking about is represented best by your Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Now, before we break that down, I am not a fan of kicking people while they're down. That's not why I'm here. As a matter of fact, you heard me say on this show last week that I thought Notre Dame was going to go undefeated before they played A&M. Even so 2 weeks ago. It's never okay to not show up. And now you have an ugly loss. And does it matter? No, because they're still going to make it in with that one loss, because they're going to win and beat these other teams that, frankly, not on their level. But the only other, real game that you kind of have to look out for is, SoCal. And I'm not entirely sure that Notre Dame isn't going to be a much better team by that point. And USC may be, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure stylistically how that game's going to match up well for USC as it looks today. And I may think differently, going down the season here. But, obviously Notre Dame falls to the Wolfpack, Northern Illinois. Stand up for the fellas. And I'm not really here to tell you that I'm happy about it, sad about it. It just kind of took me for a loop. I wasn't really expecting that one. We were in the stadium, and I'm looking, and I'm like, honey, are you seeing what just happened? It's whatever, dude. College football is the greatest game known to mankind. But we are going to get into our first game of this week, and that is going to be right off the rip. We are going to talk about Notre Dame again. Fall all the way down to number 18. It's not really that big of a fall. They're going to go to Purdue. Shout out to the Purdue Boilermakers, man. We've got some absolute buckets of people that live out there in Purdue. Shout out to my guy, Dan. You know who you are. And I think that there's going to be a very, very raucous and probably not sober crowd up in Indy. Now, what does that mean going forward? I mean, I think ESPN let out there like a little odds bet by ESPN bet. It was a 10.5 point spread. Money line, you're going to have to lay 350. I love Notre Dame. I love Notre Dame here in the spot. I don't think that there's a single part of that team that's going to be anything less than 100% motivated. I don't see the letdown for them. I love Notre Dame in the spot. I don't love 10.5, candidly. If you could buy that down a little bit, I would love that. But you've got some pretty sleepy matchups. I mean, they do have to play like Louisville at the crib. I don't see them having any problem with Louisville at the crib. And I guess what we'll kind of find with Notre Dame is, how good do you really want to be by going out and beating the hell out of Purdue? I mean, the over-under's at 47.5, so they must think it's going to be a low-scoring game on one side. I don't know. I like Notre Dame in this spot. If you can buy it down rather than maybe 8.5 or 9, I think it'd be worth it. You're still probably going to be under the $2 threshold at that point. It might not be a bad play to take Notre Dame on that spread. And then another game that I like, and I have to admit this, I do like Alabama on the road going to Wisconsin. I don't think that there is a single person on the Wisconsin football team that wants to bring down Jalen Milroe. Sorry. I think Jalen Milroe he's taken the Kalen DeBoer, liking. He's in the mold of what Kalen DeBoer really, I think, as far as running the ball, what I really think he wanted Michael Penix to be able to do, but Michael Penix wasn't good at that. And I think Michael Penix gave you the ability to have a very, very precise spread offense. I think that you are going to have and I know everybody says that styles make fights, but the style of offense that Kalen DeBoer wants to run is one where you can do anything. And I know that it's easy to say, well, everybody wants to have an offense that can do anything. You have to listen. You have to go back and look at his previous quarterbacks and look at what they were good at. And I think that this is one that gives him the opportunity to do something a little bit different. Milroe's got a cannon on him. I'm not saying that he's precise. I just think that there is a really, really different look to this Alabama team and how you feel about them. Their defensive back room needs a little bit of love and needs a little bit of help. But by the time they get in the meat of their schedule, they're going to have, I think, enough games under their belt and the experience that they need to be fine, because I know that, I mean, they do have to play Georgia. Like, they have Georgia at the crib next week, and that is going to be a massive, massive football game. But what I think that people are missing is that when I say the meat of their schedule, the meat of their schedule really comes in November. I have no problem picking Georgia today to win that football game. I think it's going to be closer than people might think, but I do think Georgia's going to win that game. I'll give you, if I had to make the bet today, I don't think they're going to have a problem going to Nashville. It's not going to be a look-ahead spot at all. I have no problem with them in South Carolina at the house. I do, though, have a problem with them going to Tennessee, having Missouri at the crib, then going to LSU, and then you have the Mercer game to kind of get right, and you got to go to Oklahoma, and then you have Auburn at the crib. And so I think when I say the meat of the schedule, you would think that starts to Georgia, but I really think that it starts November 19th, or rather October 19th, I should say, when you go to Knoxville. That's like, and I'm saying this to say, all offseason, the talking point about Alabama was that you were finally going to have someone that just wasn't Nick, right? And as a Coach Saban fan, no one is going to be him. I'm with you. But is it okay to admit that they look better than what you thought that they would look under a new head coach? And I'm taking South Florida with a grain of salt, because I really think that there is deeper ties in the South Florida game than you might think. South Florida gave them their best chance for 3/4 of that game, and then Alabama obviously pulled away. That's kind of the theme here, right? And I'll give you an example. If you're an LSU fan and you have a problem with people saying that Nichols gave you a hard time, and you're of the belief that they were playing vanilla on defense, they didn't want to show anything. And so LSU did not have a hard time with Nichols. They were just not wanting to show him anything, and they pulled away in the end like every other football team does. But then on the other hand, you go and say that Alabama was in a rock fight with South Florida. You see how that's contradictory? Like, that's the thing that sometimes if you listen to some of these shows, you'll catch somebody in, is these contradictory statements. You and I both know that Alabama wasn't losing to South Florida. Everyone knew that. Like, everyone knew that. And there was always going to be an opportunity for the team for South Florida to keep it close. They did it last year with Nick. So who's to say that they weren't going to be able to do it without him? So my point is, I really urge you to not get too much into the weeds of you taking a game like that and saying that that's going to be what makes or breaks this Alabama football team, because I really think they're going to go on the road to Wisconsin and take care of business. I'm not saying to lay those points. I think that spread is ugly and weird. 16 and a half. You have to, I mean, I'm telling you, they're going to go on the road and they're going to take care of business. And I know that y'all just saw that my power just flickered. I know you saw it. Oh my God, it did it twice. So what I do want to say is be careful. Be careful. Let's see. Are y'all seeing this? You now know that I'm not playing and I'm not tripping. Look, it's doing it again. I told you, bro. There's something about the college football guys that don't like it whenever you start talking about Alabama. There's something weird about it. But look, we're going to speed along into it before, Jesus decides to take the wheel and the stream. Listen, I get it. I get that there's a hesitancy for you to want to admit that this next team that we're going to talk about is good. It kind of hurts some feelings. Maybe you're just not used to it. Y'all, Missouri's not a bad football team. As a matter of fact, I'd go out on a limb and say that Missouri is a pretty good football team. I know that nobody is used to seeing Missouri ranked so high. I'm sorry, y'all. There's a large chance that my energy company just texted me to tell me something. What are we doing here? We apologize if you're experiencing. Okay, I think we're good. Missouri. I'm not really sure that y'all are ready for this conversation. I think Missouri's a playoff team. Is it early? Yeah. Have they played absolutely no one? Yes. But look at the schedule. Does going on the road to A&M seem as hard as it was at the beginning of the season? No. Does Auburn at home seem like it was as hard as it was at the beginning of the season? No. Does at South Carolina seem like it's as hard of a game as it was at the beginning of the season? No, sir. I think if Missouri decides, I probably should take that back. I think they could make the playoff. We said that. If they didn't take that step back, we said that. They're playing with the kind of confidence that they belong. I think that's what I'm trying to say. They're doing things that they didn't even do like when they were like good Missouri, like making the East look bad Missouri teams. Like they're a confident bunch, bro. They're fun, man. They're fun. I know Coach Drink is doing some different stuff with, what exactly he wants, in this scheme of spread them out, throwing over the middle. Y'all, Luther Burden's an issue. That defense looks like they're mean. We will know soon enough if they're built off that. We will know soon enough, but we're not going to know until they go on the road to Texas A&M in a morning game, by the way. And there's nothing more like scary than going on the road to play overalls at 11 a.m. I'm just not really sure that they're ready for that. But I do like Missouri to go home to go take care of business. I do actually like their spread. I know that it's 16, but I think they're going to beat the hell out of Boston College. I don't think that Boston College is a good football team right now. I think they have the potential to be. I'm just saying. Get ready for us to talk more about Missouri here soon. That's all I'm going to say. Speeding on through it. We've got one more game after this next one, but the one that I really wanted to talk about, and it is Georgia on the road at Kentucky. Now, I will hear you out. I know it's 22-point spread. I know it's 44.5-point over. I think that you get a Kentucky team that's angry, disappointed, and pissed off. And I'm not really saying that there's going to be, you know, it's hard for me to say that there's a look ahead spot for Georgia because they have just proven time and time again they don't believe in those things. But if there was ever a time for there to be a look ahead spot, it's going on the road twice to Kentucky and going to Bama. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that like it's gonna happen, but I'm just saying that historically this is the type of game where something weird starts to happen, right? This is the kind of game where the sleepy nobody home team decides to show up and not really give too much in the media, just kind of stays, beneath the radar, and they come out, bruh, and they just put you in a freaking 3.5 quarter boxing match, back and forth uppercuts and jabs. And then at the weirdest possible last second, the team that didn't look good all the game, the favorite, comes out and wins the game. That's the kind of game that I'm looking at right now with Kentucky. Could they go in and beat them by 3 touchdowns? 1,000,000,000% yes. 1,000,000,000% yes. I think Carson Beck looks just as good as, we kind of thought that he would look. I think Brock doesn't, to be honest with you. I'm not really pleased with what I'm seeing on the Kentucky side of the football as far as offense, rather. I don't know. It just doesn't. It doesn't feel like a typical Kentucky football team. But Mark Stoops is a good coach. Is there some contention in the locker room? There possibly. If he hasn't lost the locker room, I think this is going to be a good game. I think you're going to see Georgia try to establish the run, try to not do anything too crazy. I don't think they want to show much. You may not need to show much to beat them, but I think that if they do attempt to do that, I think Kentucky's going to get into a rock fight, and I think you're going to see a good old-fashioned SEC East sleepy football game that ends up being a great one. If Kentucky goes in there and wants to take care of business, and if Georgia doesn't go in there and take care of that business. So I'm just saying, could be a good one. And last but not least, we're going to talk about obviously the game that, we're going to be focused on the most given our fandom. LSU's on the road at South Carolina. I was not ready for this game to be the college football game day. I was not ready for that. I thought 1,000% that there was going to be I don't know, man. Like, I kind of thought they were going to go to Kansas State. Kansas State ended up going to Tulane and winning. Arizona doesn't look very bad at all. They look pretty solid, as solid as you could look, I suppose, underneath some of the changes they've been going through. But the problem is that game's tomorrow. And college game day does not like not having something to do on Saturday. So you kind of missed out on that. I thought maybe Alabama, Wisconsin would have been good. And you could have maybe even said something about the Missouri game, dude. Like, you really could have said something about the Missouri game, but they chose the LSU South Carolina game. I don't know if game day's ever been there. I don't believe that they had. But that's a lit stadium, y'all. That's one that's under the radar. It's one that I think they're going to really need to be on their A game for if you're LSU. And I think if you're going to be LSU and you're going to go on the road and beat this team, I think you're going to have to go in there and you're going to have to establish your dominance early and often. And I'm not really certain that LSU's done that yet on any side of the football ever this year. I think it was very telling. There's a couple of people around town that have, spoken about, what are you going to do with Harold Perkins? Are you going to keep him? Are you going to leave him? Are you going to move him? Like, how exactly do you go about that? We've kind of talked about this off the cuff. Russo and I have kind of talked about Harold Perkins in that star role because maybe Major Burns isn't giving you everything you want there. And that's not, to try to knock, a kid that's really trying his best. But I think there's just some things that Harold can do that no one else can. And putting him in position to do those things is something that I think BK and, Harold and his, his people have really had to sit down and talk about. And I think that that's, kid, listen, like, you're special. You're special. And you're not playing in a special position right now. And we've got someone else on the field that can maybe do some of those same similar things. And we need to keep you guys on the field at the same time. And so I think if anybody is able to pick up something new and do it well, it's Harold Perkins. And what we haven't seen him do yet is pick up this middle linebacker thing, y'all. It's not his fault. It's just not what he's meant to do. Harold Perkins is a freak. He is a freak. And I've said this before, and someone that I trust and someone that I, respect and look up to, immensely, said this on their own show. Shout out to Hanny. Is that his best player, the best comp that I've seen so far, and maybe it's because I'm an Eagles fan, is Hassan Reddick. I think Hassan Reddick is a little taller and he's a little bit heavier, but he's also older and he's also had the time to do that. Harold Perkins has the kind of bend and get off on the edge that, frankly, we have not seen in a linebacker like this. And I don't want to say Isaiah Simmons, man, because Isaiah Simmons was a safety and was great up on the edge. But you know who else was really good on the edge? And I mean, like, I can't say that they're similar in players because they're not, but they're similar in size, and it's Jamal Adams. They're similar in size. And some of the things that Jamal used to do when he would come up to the line of scrimmage, and you were like, who got the – oh, wait, it was Jamal. Like, if he was a safety trying to play up on the edge and you were trying to put him in the Isaiah Simmons role, then I could see you wanting to drop him back into coverage. And maybe he's good at being in coverage, but he's not meant to be. He has to be up on the line of scrimmage. He has to be close to the ball. Put him out in space. I get it, but dog, he has got to be close to the line of scrimmage and playing that hybrid role. And the nickel Sam wasn't a bad look for him. Like, there was times in which you were just kind of hoping that the ball wouldn't have been thrown better. But bruh, like, playing in that role, he got the interception that practically turned the tide. It did turn the tide for you when you were in Como and you were playing Missouri, a team that, like, had all the confidence in the world, started the game going for 2 and making it. Like, that's the kind of momentum that Harold Perkins can give you. And he's taken over games. He has taken over games playing different teams by being a spy, playing off the edge, and just doing what he does naturally, which is bending around bigger, slower people than him and getting to the quarterback. And I'm of the belief that this has already been something that they've thought about and something that they've even tried to do before this week and weren't going to show their hand. Because if you if you watch the game back against Nichols, LSU didn't do anything crazy, y'all. They played plain Jane vanilla. I mean, like, the most vanilla ice cream you've ever seen in your life. The subs didn't even seem right. The when you were go to nickel and when you were in dime, taking the heavy guys off the field, putting the light guys on, it just, you were just kind of running. You were getting people some experience. And I can't go any further without saying how much I'm thinking about Tank Guillory. I'm gutted for that young man. I'm gutted. For a person that's waited as long as he's waited to make a difference, I can't imagine how he feels. It's sad. It really is sad. I feel bad for Prince. I feel bad for John. I feel bad for Tank. I mean, you're losing these kids for the season, man. And there's something to be said for a kid that gets injured during the season and comes back. You know what I mean? Like, you can't tell me that you've had a bad day at work and your boss is on your case for something. Maybe they had a bad day at work and you just get to Friday and y'all go out to dinner and you go eat with another couple, and the other couple just tells you how great their life is, how great their boss is, and it gets you thinking, and then you end up at 11:30 at night, a little bit marg drunk on LinkedIn, just looking at jobs that might be available, and but you don't do it, and you just go back to your job, and you stick it out. You stick it out, and then your company rewards you for it. That's what Tank's been doing for the last 3 and 4 years. And then this happens. So it's really tough. It's really tough to say that he is out for the season. It's really difficult, and our prayers are certainly out to he and his family. And um, it's really, really hard to watch because that's a kid that really wanted to make an impact and did things to change um, himself for the better, to be a leader of people. And so shout out to him. I hate that for a kid like that, brother, and sisters for that matter. But as we don't want to digress too far away from the point, I do think that there's a pretty good easy roadmap for this game, and I think that there's a clear example of LSU wants to run the football, but LSU is going to have to go out and stop the run first. You're going to have to stop the run. You're going to have to pass protect. This defensive front for South Carolina is not a joke. They're real. They lead the nation in sacks, and you lead the nation in not allowing them. So, the classic good on good, if you were to look at that monocle. And I think if you're, the kind of person that's looking for a matchup, watch Will Campbell and Emory Jones in this game. And I've said for a while now, I would have loved to have seen, Emory Jones kick into guard. I think that's where he grades out at the next level. I'm not a scout. I didn't play guard in high school. I didn't even play offensive line ever in my life. I was never a big enough person to do any of that crazy mess. But I do think that you have to be real with yourself, and that Emory Jones is an absolutely excellent right tackle in college. I do think he grades as a guard at the next level. It's just my thoughts. I think that he would have been great at guard. I think if you were going to have Tyree Adams kick outside, I think that'd be great, because I think that's where Tyree's going to play when he comes on the team next year, as obviously a more seasoned football player. I think that that's where he's best suited. So why not give him reps where he's going to be? Like, why are we still trying to do this at guard with him? Paul Mabanga. I think Paul Mabanga is a good, solid football player. I didn't love him in at guard. I don't know. They had issues on the interior, but then again, you were running against stacked boxes, and you can debate me all you want. It doesn't matter if it's 9-on-7 or 8-on-7 or 10-on-8. When it doesn't matter if you're D1 or D3. Numbers is numbers. Weight is weight. Muscle is muscle. I'm sorry. I'll tell you who didn't care about numbers, and his name is William Campbell, because Big Bro is moving folk all night long. Watch the game again. Watch what Will Campbell was doing to folk. And I think that you're going to have your hands full with a South Carolina edge rush group that has some fight. They've got some grit, bro, and I think it's going to be a good game. I'm done picking. I'm done giving my predictions. I don't love the line. I think we've rested at 7. I think a touchdown spread. I hate that line. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's great. I think it's scary and weird, and I hate it, and I don't want to be any part of it. And it's a 48 point over under. Leave me out of that. I want no part of that. I think if we're to be honest with ourselves, I think you and I both know that we don't love that, and we don't feel great about the game. We're just going to have to wait and see. But I do trust that Brian Kelly is going to have these kids ready to go, have them ready to play. And, I think that there's a lot that can be said for a team that's kind of had a lot of different, start to the season. And some fans are going to have to be, comfortable with being uncomfortable going forward. And that this is a new team trying to learn how to be their best. And so, for those reasons, we're going to be there to watch. We're not going to be in South Carolina. Obviously, we're going to be at home. Me and Russo will not be going live. We will not be watching the game together, but I will be most likely heavily inebriated to watch it, because in order to watch 11 a.m. football game that stresses me out, I'm certainly not going to do it sober. And I think that that's kind of how this year's going to go. Oh, my primary care doctor is not going to be happy when they hear that. But that's how it's going to be. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Give us a little like. Give us the little like button. If you want to hit our notifications, I certainly can send you out a text here if I've got your number. I mean, it's doing it again, y'all. I'm not even playing with you, but it's doing it again. I can shoot you out some sort of text, whether it's on Twitter or whether it's on Instagram if you want. Going here in the future, just leave us a comment on what you might prefer, but give us some notifications, and I certainly appreciate all the love. And I really, really do appreciate all the love, and I do appreciate you guys being patient with us. And until then,